Hello, my friends. I am making this video specifically for my Strength and Balance class at Williamsburg Community Center. I'm Erin. A bunch of you have said to me that you're trying to do these exercises at home, which is awesome, but you get home and you can't always remember all of the exercises that we've been working on, so this is going to be a little refresher. It's not going to be a full class, but it's going to remind you of the exercises that we do and give you some pointers for how to do them safely at home. Now, I am recording this class in my regular everyday clothes just as a way to highlight that you don't need to make this part of a fitness routine or set aside too much time in your day. You can fit all this stuff in really easily. I love keeping a set of light weights in my kitchen because that's where I spend most of my time. And when I'm waiting for some water to boil, I'll just grab them, do a few sets of some biceps or something else. So maybe you have another habit in your day that you could pair this with. Maybe you've got a favorite reading chair and you can leave some weights there and think, okay, every time before I sit down to read, I'm going to grab my weights, set a timer for 5 minutes, and just do a little bit of strength work. So grab your weights with me. Now you can use any kind of weights that you have at home. If you don't have any weights, you can use cans, you can use water bottles, you can use pretty much anything. If they're light weights, you just want to think about using your mind to imagine that those weights weigh 20 pounds and you want to emphasize this, squeeze up and resist them down. They're such heavy weights. Your arms can even be shaking if you're only using a 2-pound weight. So let's get started. I'm going to assume that you're already warmed up. We do want to warm up a little bit before we start moving. It doesn't need to take too long. Here's a good one, just some shoulder circles or just some little arm swings. Anything just to get your circulation a little bit moving and get your shoulders relaxed. Okay, let's try one thing together. This is going to get us thinking of shoulder stability. So we bring the shoulders forwards. Notice how your shoulder blades open up at the back of your spine. This is called protraction. Then we can lift them, elevation. Feel your shoulder blades lift up, retract. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Imagine you're trying to hold on to a little pencil back there. And now slide that pencil down. This is called depression. Let's do that one more time. We can connect it a little bit more. Forward, protract, lift up, elevate, back, retract. And this is the one we want to keep thinking of. And depress. Set them down. So when we're working upper body with our weights, this is always our stable shoulder position is the back and the down. Sometimes people even start by rolling forward, going through that whole range, lift up, and then they can really focus on the back and the down. So that's a nice stable position for your shoulders. As you know, there's lots of little delicate structures in the shoulders, so we want to be really mindful and careful of them. If any of these exercises ever causes you pain in the shoulders, you want to either use lighter weights or even use no weights, or do fewer reps so that you don't feel the pain, or see a physiotherapist. Make sure there's nothing that you're aggravating. Okay, grab your weights with me. Let's start with some bicep curls. So this is a nice, easy exercise I always love to start with. So setting ourselves up, feet. Even think of your feet even though we're working upper body. Feel them onto the mat. Bring them about as wide as your hips. Put a tiny little bend in your knee. We never want to be forcing them back. So little tiny bend, and then everything else lifts up. Lift out of your hips, lift up out of your abs. Gently imagine like you've got a tight girdle on, cinching your abs together, or like you're trying to zipper up a tight pair of jeans. You don't need to suck your belly button in, but just keeping some tension, some support through your core muscles. Okay, lift up through your spine. Now take the shoulders. We can start with that full roll. Roll them forwards, lift them up, and then bring them back without sending your ribs forwards and down. Okay, shoulders. So you can feel the back of your shoulder blades down your back rib. You can feel like they're tucked in. All right, and then lift your neck gently. Everything else is nice and relaxed. Bicep curls, I like to start with my palms forwards, and it's just a simple bend at the elbow. Okay, you can keep going while I talk. If you've got light weights, you might want to have a little bit more of a speed on them. You can even set some nice fun music and match the beat. If you've got something heavier, you want to slow it down so that you can stay really focused and isolated. Now keep going. Here's the common things that I see, especially if we start to get tired. Elbows start to come out to help us up. We don't want to be moving the elbows. You want to feel them. You don't have to squeeze them in, but you want to feel them nice and close to your ribs, nice and tight. And they're in line, pretty much stacked over your hips. They're not coming back. They're not coming forwards. That's another thing I see sometimes. All right, once you've got those, I'll show you a different variation. This is called hammer curls. It's the same idea, same setup, but palms are facing forwards. Or no, palms are facing together. Hammer curls. So you're gonna feel like the experience of it is pretty similar to bicep curls, just hits a little bit different through the bicep. Now here's another one you can try. At the top, flip your palms down, release, and now your palms are down to the floor. This is gonna target the forearm muscles a little bit more. All right, very good. So that was 3 different variations on a bicep curl. Let's work the triceps. It's the muscle at the back of your arm. It's called the opposing group to your biceps. So when you strengthen biceps, it's nice to strengthen your triceps at the same time. Keeps everything nice and balanced. So we start in what we call a hinged position. So I know you can't see my knees, but I'm starting the same way as I did before. Feet are just about as wide as my hips, little tiny bend in the knees, and then you hinge back at the hips. Now, think of the bottom of your hips, where your hip muscles or where your hip bones attach to your pelvis. That's what you want to send backwards. Sometimes people are hinging back with the top, with this part. That's not what we want to send back, because that is putting our spine in a bad, funky position. It's going to give us some strain. So from the bottom of your hips, send that straight back. Now your spine is nice and flat. Your tailbone is reaching away from you. The top of your head is reaching away from you. You're in a nice long line. That's your hinge position. Let's engage our belly button. Pull that belly button up gently, and then shoulders still back and down. Feel your shoulder blades down your back. That's a good stable position for the shoulder. And then with straight arms, we're just going to extend the arms and lift. It's called a triceps press. Good, keep going there. So here's some more techniques to think of. If you've got really light weights, you can add some pace, or you can imagine again that they weigh like 50 pounds and really squeeze them and work them. You'll get so much work in your arms. And the nice thing is, because they're still light weights, kind of really can't hurt yourself because there's no strain on our joints. So you can use that technique. Good, another thing that you can do is add some little different rhythm variations. You could go up for 3 and down, 1, 2, 3, and down. You could reverse that. You could go down for 3, 1, 2, 3, and lift, 1, 2, 3. You can hold at the top. You could think about squeezing your shoulder blades together a little bit more. You can think of lifting those arms a little bit more. You can even do some little pulses at the top. Now this goes for any of the exercises you can do. It's nice to add some variety. It's nice to put on some music and add these little rhythms. Okay, let's move on to something different. Oh, I'll show you one more version of triceps. So from our hinged position, spine is straight. Watch out for this. This happens a lot. Weights are dropping down, shoulders are not stable here. So make sure that doesn't happen to you. Pull them back and down, straight spine. Okay, for this triceps extension, we bring the elbows straight up. You'll feel them right along the side of your ribs. And then we straighten and rebend. So nothing is moving. It's just that hinge right at the elbow joint. All right, once you've got those, let's do some upright shoulder exercises. This is called a lateral raise. All the same cues. Press your feet down, lift up, zipper up, shoulders up and back and down, and then keep them gently hugging together. All right, lateral raise. The arms are coming up just as high as the shoulders. Now my weights, it's kind of hard to see on the video, they're a little bit in front of my shoulders, just a little bit. So I'm not like I'm pressing against a wall and everything is touching a wall. I have them just a little bit forwards. Good, and then it's just a lift and lower. All right, keep on going at home, but watch out for this. Sometimes when people have light weights especially, then we start to swing them and then it's just momentum and there's no real strengthening happening. So make sure, even if you've got your light weights, squeeze, resist them up, squeeze, imagine they weigh 50 pounds and squeeze them back down. Okay, the next thing that you can move into from here is nice to do a little front raise. I like to have my palms facing together. Let's try one arm at a time. Very nice. So as always, you know all the cues. Your shoulders are really back and down as always. Your shoulder blades are nice and stable on the back of your spine. Now the reason I like to start these one arm at a time is sometimes when we go straight into doubles, oh, that weight is coming forward and either it pulls you forward or we try and compensate and we end up trying to lean back when we do these exercises. You don't want that to happen. When you go into double arms, you want everything to be really strong. Make sure nothing else is moving. So you're going to really need to use the core here. Awesome. And then if you're at home, and again, it's nice to just add variety. You know, you can increase the speed. You can do one arm at a time. You can add your little rhythms, 3 up, 1 down, whatever you like. You can hold them out and practice pulsing. Okay, keep going. So I'm going to show you one other thing with your breathing, especially for this kind of exercise. I find, you know, you want to exhale where you find the work, which is usually that lift part. Exhale, inhale down. When you exhale, make sure that you're not pressing the breath down. When we exhale, we even want to think of lifting up. So this is about core strength. This is about pelvic floor health. On your exhale, make sure you're lifting. That exhale, there's a sense of everything pulling up under your diaphragm. Never exhaling, pushing down. So that's another thing you can keep in mind. All right, you should be feeling some shoulders by now. Shake it out and then meet me for an overhead press. Elbows are about 90 degrees. And then again, I don't have mine like they would be touching a wall behind me. I have them just a little bit forward of my shoulders. Okay, core is in. Well, I'm going to inhale to get ready. Exhale, on my way up. Now, elbows do not have to straighten. In fact, don't lock them. Keep a little bit of a bend. Beautiful. Okay, you're going to notice that this is not just shoulders, but you're working your muscles of your back as well. And that is great. In fact, keep going. Think about the bottom of your shoulder blade. And imagine lifting from right there. Instead of lifting out of the shoulders, you're lifting from that bottom corner of your shoulder blade. That is also going to help to protect the shoulders when you do this exercise. And we've got all those little ways to add some variety. You could hold, you could pulse. Ooh, you can even pulse and bring them in. Keep your shoulders back. You can pulse them out. Okay, you could move this into what we call a chest press. Elbows and weights come forward. Sometimes people even touch them together. If that feels okay for your shoulders, then that's fine. If you don't want to press them together, that's fine too. So this is also working the front of your chest. So think of these muscles right along the front of the chest and bring your intention there, squeeze them. Now if you want to get fancy, lock your shoulder blades down and we can do one overhead press and then one chest press. Ooh, you're working lots here all at once. Okay, the last thing that I want to show you is some exercises for the back of your shoulders and for your long back muscles. So to do that, we'll find that hinged position again. My feet are set, my knees are ever so slightly bent, and my hips are going back. It's also like somebody was taking you by the pockets of your jeans, pulling you straight back. So our first variation that we can do, pull your belly button in, roll those shoulders back and down. We can go into a wide row. So for this, I like to bring the palms facing my thighs. Elbows go straight out. And then you think about squeezing your shoulder blades gently at the top here. And then just let the weights lower. So your arms with the weights aren't really doing anything. You're really just thinking about moving your elbows to the side, and the weights are kind of coming along for a ride. And again, if you want to add some fun stuff, you could pulse it at the top. You could lift and hold. Okay, let's try this variation. Turn your palms in now, and then fly out to the side. Now, I'm looking up at the screen. I shouldn't do that. If you find yourself looking up at the screen, come on sideways. It's better for your neck to turn your head sideways rather than to try and look up when we're in this position. So if you don't need to look, just keep your eyes focused on the floor just slightly ahead of you. Now for this exercise, I always like to think of being a bird standing right on the edge of a cliff, looking over that cliff and then spreading my wings straight to the side. Okay, the last exercise we can move into that I'll show you today is, same thing, palms are facing. This time elbows are just going to go straight back and release. Very nice. So you feel your elbows kind of grazing along the side of your ribs, your upper arm, gently in contact with the side of the ribs, and then bring your attention to your shoulder blades. Give it a little extra squeeze at the top there before you release them down. Okay, I'll show you one thing not to do. I used to do this before I was a fitness instructor. I thought I was getting more range of motion if I released my shoulders at the bottom. No, bad idea. So keep them in. Don't do what I did. Keep them locked in the whole time. All right, and don't forget to do some stretches, especially if you've done a little bit extra today. Stretch everything out. You've got your triceps stretch. You've got your shoulder stretches. You can even gently pull your fingers back, just gently to try and stretch out the bicep. Wonderful. All right, I hope that gives you something fun to get started with, and I will see you next time.